We love you. Crime and Scandal. This is the story of Ray Spencer. He was a police officer and maybe not liked too much. He loved women and was a womanizer. He admits to that. That's just how he was in his day. Now, he was accused and convicted of abusing his two children, sex acts. Oh, yeah. Well, um, he was married and obviously was cheating on his wife. Oh, yeah, cheating on his wife. Same old story. And look where it gets you. Revenge. Well, 3 years after he got divorced from his first wife, he met another woman and got married again. Well, his daughter Katie was 5 years old at this time, said to him that she is being touched. And in fact, he was the one that went and reported this himself. He said, he told them what his daughter was saying. Later, an investigation began, and Ray was accused of raping, molesting his 5-year-old. Mind you, he's the one that reported it in the first place. Now, his son was reporting abuse. Matt, his son, started to say things. But these kids really didn't know what they were saying. Because, these kids were well coached. But anyway, things were looking bad for the father. Now he was thinking in his mind, did I do this without knowing? Did I have a blackout and I don't know? All these thoughts were going through his head, and it comes down to it. He made a alpha plea, which he just, I guess, wanted this over. He didn't know how he was being charged with this, and all the things they were saying they're going to charge him with. So he made an alpha plea. Well, anyway, Ray said he would take, the lie detector and some truth serum. Oh yeah, they use that stuff? Truth serum? Well, anyway, and this was the outcome. He was telling the truth. He didn't know how they were being sexually abused, or even if they were being abused. These allegations. Well, it comes out that, they think he's telling the truth because, this truth serum. Well, anyway, he made this alpha plea. And that means the judge can do what he wants to do within reason, I guess, you know. So his defense team must have thought, you're only going to you confess, you'll get a few years or whatever. But the judge throws the book at him. The judge gives him every day possible he could ever give a person. I mean, he ripped one in him. He gave him the max sentence possible for this man, which was life. Oh, yeah. A lot of years in prison to come. But he still indicates that he didn't do these acts. He never did it. He's still saying he didn't do it. He made an alpha plea, for the sake of his children. So, they just believe that he's a sick man. His wife said he's sick. His wife don't like him because, um, he was a cheater. And she believes what she's going to believe. And she's got him out of her hair. Oh, yeah, he's gone. So he thought he had no choice, to make the plea. So the judge throws the book at him, and he couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe that he's guilty on these counts and to pay that higher price. And he's still confessing that he didn't do these things. But you know what? Don't confess to nothing you did. Don't confess. But he keeps reminding the children that he didn't do this. And, as time goes on, 2 ex-wives later, apparently they're both sick of him. They're both sickened of this, especially his second wife. Now, the second wife comes into play here. The second wife. Well, as he sits in prison, not knowing what to do, how am I going to get out of here? He contacts a former ex-girlfriend that they were, apparently she's a nurse, and they were in the military. And they were very, very good friends at that time, many years ago. And her name was Norma, the nurse. And they slowly started writing to each other, and she came back into their life, and the love for each other came to light. And she started fighting for justice. So the appeals began. She was his last hope. They fell back in love and they got married. Norma knew this man very well and believed that he was innocent. And she believed every word that he told her. Yeah, they do. But she might be right this time. She might be right. Anyway, she worked 70 hours a week appealing to everyone that would listen. And she was going bankrupt along the way in the name of justice. And as that goes on, she's getting some help by, those people that fight, that believe in your innocence, those people, the lawyers that do help people that are wrongly convicted without all the evidence. And his son, Matt, as they got older, was saying, yeah, but Daddy didn't do it. My dad didn't do it. I don't know what I was saying. I don't know what I was saying, but I knew my dad didn't do it. But it's people around me saying that he did it. And these children, they had words put into their mouth. Because apparently, way back then in the day, they didn't know what they were doing. They were doing it the wrong way. You do not interview little kids that age in the way they did. And so it comes out that as these investigations go on, that this ex-wife was having an affair with another officer. Oh yeah, she probably was getting back at him for having an affair. But this comes into play. And she began to set him up. This was a setup. And they both, her and her boyfriend at the time, her lover, set him up. Started putting words. Well, actually, the kids might have been, the little girl might have been molested by somebody, but the ex-wife was putting words into this kid and got her to say whatever she wanted her to say. That's by the sounds of that one. And then 10 years later has gone by. And they all go on with their life because you have to. And then Matt and Katie were saying, as they get older, they're still saying their dad didn't do it. It's 10 years later, and they're saying their dad didn't do it. And they knew he didn't do it. But you know what? These kids were little then, like I said. And they said they didn't even know what they were saying. They didn't even understand why they had to say these things. Then some information came out. Tapes that were recorded of the interviews and lies. This is getting on for years and years, over 10 years now, over 10 years, nearly 20 years. That these tapes were never released. They were hidden away in a box, in a garage. I think it was from one of the detectives or somebody. They were hidden away in a box and never presented as any evidence whatsoever. So they were hid, and they never said a boo about them. Never said a boo about them. Never said. And then if these tapes had come out when they came out, there would have been no case. It would have been over right there and then. He wouldn't have spent 20 years in prison for something he didn't do because they put words in the kids' mouths. Yeah. The journey to justice begins. But it's not over yet. Lost tapes missing. 2006. He was released from prison, wrongly convicted of sexual acts. But it wasn't over for him. He was still labeled a sex offender. Oh, yeah, sex offender. His case got overturned and he was released, and they stated time served, stamped, time served. As Ray and his son tried to mend their hurt, their mother put thoughts in their head. But Matt still knows he did not do these acts to him. And the daughter, she was hurting all this time and apparently didn't have too much to do with her dad, because apparently the mother, this is the mother also, said if your father ever gets out, he's going to come and kill you. You know, put frightening thoughts in their head. So they got scared of him. You know, they were scared of him. But they're grown up now, and she can't hurt them anymore. And you know, the daughter, Katie, has got children, and she called him up and said, let's start again. Come back into my life. And that's why they start this journey to justice. They're going back to court to clear his name, to get him off the sex offenders list. This is one more thing to do. If you're released from prison and you never did it, but you're still labeled as a sex offender, well, that part don't make sense. But anyway, they had to take it back to court to get this off his record so he can go on with his life. And so they all go to court and they all have their say, and they make their plea. And all the evidence comes into play. The tapes were played. All the evidence that was never heard and was hid, and all the other damaging tapes that were made were falsely made, all came into play. And so when it was all over and the day came, you are no longer labeled a sex offender. The journey to justice. Thank you.